And I want to tell you a brief story that Kraft Ericke, a German space scientist, said to me once. And he had German accents, and he said there was a German fetal scientist in the womb in the 7th month, and he was predicting that by the 8th month there would be crowding. And by the 9th month there would be overcrowding, and by the 10th month there would be triage, and there was real destruction, and by the 11th month the baby would be dead, because the German fetal scientist, said Kraft, didn't know about birth. So what I began to see is that all this overgrowth in this womb, this behavior in self-centered consciousness, finally showed up as affecting our own evolution. And the very fact that a species woke up to the possibility of rendering itself extinct, you can see how it's happening. Some people woke up early in the 60s and 70s. They woke up to the fact we have an environment. The women woke up to they wanted to have their identity. People woke up to the fact that there's suffering throughout the world that we're causing. On and on and on. And I would say in the year now 2007, 2008, with the understanding of global warming and other environmental conditions, that we finally, the general public has become aware that we could self-destruct and that our cities will be inundated. Now, what this is doing is causing all those innovations under the radar, like Paul Hawkins describes in Blessed Unrest. He says the biggest mass movement in the history of humanity has been generated for social justice, environmental issues, and indigenous peoples trying to prevent unfair globalization. It's leaderless, it's without a particular name, and never before have citizens amassed to this degree. So it seems to me that our crisis is causing the birth of what I call a more universal human. This human has been gestating in the hearts of humanity for thousands of years. The great beings, the great avatars, mystics, saints, seers, scientists have had it. But now millions of so-called normal, average people have woken up to the fact that they're connected. This environment is our larger body. If children are starving in Africa, we see it on our mass nervous system, and we have to do something about it. And out of that sense of crisis, conscious evolution was born. The part that I began to see is not only are we conscious of our destructive impact, but that consciousness is awakening in us a desire to remake society. Now, that's also been there for hundreds of years, different utopian communities. But now we're seeing that local, regional, and governments will not be able to handle the waters rising. They couldn't handle Katrina. So those of us who have been working on alternative systems, economic systems, community building systems, health systems, are actually getting encouraged. Hey, we're going to be needed. Let's not call ourselves alternative anymore. Let's call ourselves the new mainstream. And not only are there these wonderful responses to immediate problems, but there are social innovations like microcredit loans, like new healthcare systems, like new economic systems in Hazel Henderson's work with Ethical Marketplace. And if you start adding all that up and put on top of it our quantum capacities in biotech, nanotech, quantum computing, and possibly in accessing zero-point energy, gaining radical abundance, you'll see that sort of the growing edge of the response to the crisis is a sense of radical new possibilities that will not fully happen unless we're aware that we can consciously evolve. So I believe that conscious evolution is the greatest epoch that the human species has ever known. We're at the first age of it. I love a quote from James Martin in his book, The Meaning of the 21st Century. He says, "The fact that humanity has discovered it's affecting its own evolution is comparable to the origin of the first cell." And he said, no creature has ever been aware of this, and we have no experience at the game. So the game, in quotes, of conscious evolution is a new opportunity, a new necessity for humanity. It's a waking up our empathy. It's waking up our responsibility. It's waking up our consciousness of connectivity and oneness. It's waking up an evolutionary spirituality. Many of us are walking out of the doors of dogmas of the past. Why? Because we feel the rise of spiritual impulse in us to express, to be, to connect, to care. I personally believe our crisis is the birth of a universal human and a universal humanity. How well it goes, or how badly, depends on how many of us wake up and connect.
That's an incredibly exciting story. So on that last point, in terms of how many of us are going to wake up, so far what you've described in some sense could be, even though it sounds immense and obviously millions of people are involved in what you just described, in some sense it's still a very small fraction of humanity that's participating in the kind of awakening that you're describing. Would you agree?
It's certainly a minority of humanity, but here's some evolutionary theory that I like, and it comes from chaos theorists and dissipator structures, and one of the phrases is, I believe this is from Irvin Laszlo in his book Macro Shift, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos can shift the whole system to a higher order.
Is this the idea that these small islands sort of become the strange attractors for the next order that's going to emerge?
So as we gain coherence and connectivity in the networks for positive change, at whatever level they are, there is an innate value system that is moving people to join, to have more effectiveness, more power. And I believe that there is a natural tendency in nature to form whole systems, from atoms forming molecules, molecules forming cells, and so on, all the way up the chain of life. So it seems to me that the process of nature, the process of spiritual evolution, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you give it, is moving all of us toward greater synergy, greater connectivity, not because we're better than what came before us, but because the time is right in evolution when the crisis can't be resolved by doing more of the same. You have to look for innovation and transformation. You look for convergence of what's emergent. Now, this is a multi-billion-year trend. Therefore, here's my evolutionary thing. There's no reason it could stop with us. It's no reason that the coordinating capacity of the universe to self-organize from the first flaring forth to us would stop its coordinating capabilities. So any one of us that's motivated by the yearning to connect, to give more, to be more, to do more, actually enter into the nature of nature to transcend when it hits a limit. And the yearning for self-evolution and self-transcendence that's in millions is an evolutionary force of creation. Nature transcends limits by creating greater whole systems. It's happening within us, and I have evolutionary eyes. You have to have evolutionary eyes to see what's emergent. If you have evolutionary eyes and take a universal perspective like the astronauts, and you see what's breaking down is pushing forward what's breaking through, you start noticing and connecting what's breaking through and communicating what's breaking through, and then you start to break through because that's what you're noticing.
Great. So we'll continue talking about this, where these new messages are coming from that are going to be the strange attractors that allow us to create order when we come back. I'm here with Barbara Marx Hubbard, futurist, author, and creator of the new documentary DVD series, Humanity Ascending, A New Way Through Together. You can learn more about Barbara's work at barbaramarxhubbard.com.